toe, slide, 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 human toe and human toe, slide all the way back. Hop, right, 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 jump, jump, back, toe, 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 knees, 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 right over around. Now to the next few go. to 18, it turns to 50. Side to 18, well, it turns head to 18, you know, straight on back. Side to 18, then it turns down. Show side of your corner, back to back, say girl. Out and left, come home, I know side of your home. Come on, that way home. In the world, join hands, circle and you know, circle is the left to get back home. Turn to your corner, do a left out. Don't stop over your partner, look her in the eye, smile up her head. Spread a little for snake forward. Don't stop over your partner, wrong way to say, head on. Head to 18, turn to 50. Side to 18, well you turn then. Head to 18, you go straight on back. Side to 18, well you turn back. Just out of your corner, back to back, say girl. Now and left home, just out of your home. In the world, head to 18, return to 20. Side to 18, well, return to 10. Head to 18, go straight on back. Side to 18, well, return down. Just out of your corner, back to back to go. Now and left the home, and just out of your home. Joining hands, circle left, you know, circle to the left, you get back home. Turn to the corner, do a left out. Don't start over your partner, now go run, my friend. Third box, hard midnight train. Don't start over your partner, now in the world, in the world.
Clap your hands. Now stomp your feet. We'll join hands, circle to the left and go circle left. Everybody to the middle with a great big yell. Down in the corner, we'll park your right or right on the grand. Grand up right on the damn hand over hand. Get a girl and promenade back home. Well, when I get back home, everybody sing whoa. Let's have those head legs, flutter wheels, straight across. Pick them up and bring them on back and then side legs, flutter, flutter, wheel. Good. Then come on down. All four ladies, flutter the butter. Little girls, then come on up and bring them on down. Then do it on the left and corner, girl. Weave the ring, hands up high. Yeah. Get a girl and promenade back home. Good. When you get back home, everybody say, let's have those head couples lead to the right, circle up four, and a head chin break, and you make your line roar up to the with two legs chained straight across. You turn the girl, now chain the girl right back home, then take that girl and promenade back home. You try to do it, take a walk, and then when you get back home, then well, when you get right there, everybody remember start around. star. All the way around to the corner. Make a left-hand star on the outside. Good. Now the head's back in the middle with a right-hand star. Turn to the corner. Say, corner, I'm going to do an element on the left. Move on your right and around left, grand. Grand, go, right to the left and go. Get a girl in promenade, go, rolling home. Well, you don't want to get back home, you're going to go, side face. Grand square, boogie. Yeah. Really move down, reverse. We'll get back over, let's see. Think about what couple you want. 1, 2, 3, 4. Couple number 1 and 2. Okay? Those ladies chain on a diagonal. 3 and 4 ladies chain on a diagonal. For the same turn. All 4 ladies chain 3 and 4. For the same turn. Now who's back home? Do we have anybody that's back home? Okay. You guys are back home? Head ladies, you chain straight across. Now you all back home? Side face, grand square, go. Well, what do you get just halfway? Do an element left with the corner, girl. Well, park your right and around left, grand. Grand, go, right, rolling, round, go. When you get back home, everybody go, whoa. Let's hang those side couples. You lean to the right, circle up 4. Now the side jet break. And you make your line up to the middle and come on back. 2 ladies. Do a right and left through in front of you. Right hand, courtesy turn the girl as she comes out at you. 2 ladies flutter wheel, go straight across. Pick them up, bring them on around, and then when you get back there, 2 ladies chain, go straight across. You join and circle the left, go round, go use the left hand there. Do now that left hand corner, girl. They pop your right and right left grand. Grand up, right left hand, girl, promenade, go rolling home. When they get back home, then back out and join hands, circle to the left, circle up and then. Couple number 1, ribbon snort. Number 3 makes an arch. Separate, bring it through. Way back out, circle to the left, go round and go. Couple number 4, you ribbon snort. Number 2 makes an arch. Go. Go through, separate. When you get back home, then circle up. Best looking couple, ribbon snort. Yeah. It's circle to the left, the strongest person wins on that. Do an element left to the corner, girl. We bring hands up high. We get around the girls, promenade back home. You promenade when we get back home, everybody say good. Turn around, you bow to the corner, and blow a kiss right across from you. You did good. Okay. Four hips chain, turn that girl. You chain that lady right up home, you do. Join all your hands, circle, let go round. Lift down, man, come on, weave on down. What you doing? You promenade, please. All that cold sweat. What you do, swing your partner. Do me. Let's have those head couples start the round. Go heads, make a right hand star, and roll it to the right. Star with the outside and the left hand there. The hit star right to the corner and then do a do-side-do in your corner. Swing her, swing that lady, promenade her home. All that cold sweat, what you do, what you do, what you do. Square 6 down, hit couples, star around, right hand star. All the way around to the outside, make a left hand good. Come back in the middle, right hand star. To the corner, to the hillside there. River down there. All that cold sweat, what you do, side face, grand square, go, sweeter than heaven, you know you fine, you know you constantly feel so fine, rock and roll, boogie too, the gun is falling out there, you jump around, circle and rolling around, left out a man from the day on down. All that cold sweat, what you do, I want you to be. Here we go, side pedals, start of the right, go, with the right hand star. All the way around to the outside, with the left hand go. Look back in the middle, then the right hand star. And to the corner, the side, once around and then, swear, you swing it properly. All that cold sweat, what you do, I want you to me. Slow down now, side pedals, star on the right hand star, go. Try to get corner, make the left hand star, go. Right over here, honey, you just missed it. Come back in the middle, make a right hand star, go. To the corner, do a hillside go. Once around, swinger, you found a nail there. All that cold sweat, what you do, I want you to do, side face, grand square, sweeter than heaven, and terrifying, and know the cross, so that you feel so fine. I'm broken and a boogie too, the darling is falling out in love with you, showing all your hands, circle what you do, let down man, promenade her home. All that cold sweat, what you do, I want you to do to me, swinger. All that cold sweat, what you do, I want you to do to me. Yeah. Circle it. You circle it, go round to the going down, all the way to the middle with a great big yell. Doing all that left that corner, girl. Do Sando the partner. Come back to the corner, out of that left. Weave the ring. Weave the canal, hook, hook, round now. You promenade, go rolling home. When you get back home, everybody say, all right. Let's have those heads. Promenade halfway, sides move in, sides wheel out, side couples, you promenade halfway, good. When you get around there, side face, grand square, boogie, ooh, yeah. When you get back home again, doing all that left corner, girl, promenade. Really is gonna get you, really is gonna get you tonight. Let's have those head couples. You lean to the right, circle on the floor, break down and make a line, roar up to the middle and slide. Yeah. 2 ladies chain, go straight across, turn the girl. You chain the lady right back there, take that girl, promenade. You promenade, go rolling right. When you get back over again, everybody say, whoa. Side face, grand square, boogie, ooh, yeah. Join in, circle the left, you circle left. All right, to the middle, yeah. Doing all that left and corner, weave the ring, and to the right now. The rhythm is gonna get you, you promenade, go rolling home. When you get back home, everybody say, whoa. Okay, we did this one the first day we were here. We're going to go circle left. You can tell the world, you can what's my girl. You can burn my clothes when I'm gone. We'll look down that corner.
do a little side move. Left down, back in the corner, weave the ring. Go to my heart, but it be pretty hard. Take that girl, promise me. And to my heart, my pretty heart. Clap your hands, stop your feet. Whose head's promised big, that way you know. Science move in, science move outside, prominent halfway. Go around that ring, that circle to the left, go rolling round. Take you and the tell you thank you please. You and Alabama left your corner, pass your partner by, promenade the next one in line. Promenade her, yeah. Head couples, lead to the right, circle up four. Break out in the line, go up to the middle and back and bend. Do a right and left through, right hand, courtesy turner. Do a right left back, single track. Right hand bend. Do an out and left with a corner. Pass that girl by, promenade the next one in line. Promenade the next. Right here, bend, back out, circle out. You can tell your friends just what I feel like thinking. If I can joke about me on the phone, well, left out and back in the corner. Do an inside move, left out and back in the corner, and weave the ring hands high. Until my heart, my every pretty heart. Take that girl, promenade, and until my heart, my every pretty heart. You might blow, broken through this man. Here we go now. Side couples to the center, star the route, right hand star. Good. All the way around to the corner with the left hand star. Bring it all back in the middle with the right hand star sides. You find the corner, do a do, side of do. Alabama left hand corner. Pass that girl by, promenade the next one in line. Promenade and till my heart. My pretty heart, you might blow up and kill this man. Here we go. Side couple, start her out. Right hand, go. All the way around, make a left hand start, bend. Go back in the middle, make a right hand start. Find the corner, do a little side move. Left down, back in the corner. Pass by one girl, promenade original. You find it. Until my heart, my pretty heart. You might blow up and kill this man. Circle out. You can tell your mom I'm moving to Arkansas. You can tell your daughter about my leg. Left down that corner, girl. Do a little something new. Left down that corner. Weave the ring. Everybody clap your hands. Come on, kill my heart, my every pretty heart. Take that girl, promenade. And if you tell my heart, my pretty heart, circle out. You circle and go rolling thing. All the way to the middle with the ring down. All right. Good dance, you guys. All right, we need new people in there.
Going over your head, circle back. Now circle back, think over there. Grandfather, go round the way. You come the day, take them home and sing. I have my little girl in Kingston town. Then starlight goes around that bend. There's Martha light on her left hand sleeve. Those starboard parts are back inside. You know we'll get your starlight comes around the way. Turn right to the left, then corner top right. Turn your right all day and night. My heart in Kingston town. And you starlight go around that. Turn right to the right corner left and swing. Those all of your partner back to back, you know well the turn starlight comes around. Left, then corner by right. Turn your partner all day and night. My heart is down my head. I was not in town. 4 days came, no cross and get things happen, circle again. Go over and circle back, now circle back, keep on the left. Turn your over to your left out lane. Bring on around the lane. Hey, 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 I over in Kingston town. In car, go around the lane. Now right over the lane. Looks on the park, the top of high, you know. Girls are like one time round the lane. Turn right to left, then we're by the right. First we get the practice on all day tonight. My heart is down, my head spinning around. I left my little day in Kingston town. In the sunlight, over to left. Turn right to left, we're gonna look at the thing. It goes on the practice like that. I'm just girls are like one for round the world. Turn right to left, then one hop. Turn your partner all day tonight. My heart is down, my head is spinning around. I got my little in Kingston town. 4 days came to cross that ring. It came like come over again. Going over again, circle out, you know. Now circle right, so we cover the way. Turn through that corner to our left out lane. Ran right and left, go round that lane. Now from the day, take a hold and sing. I left my little girl in Kingston town. Now you're much as
Everybody go clap your hands. Now stomp your feet. We'll join and settle like a rolling round good band. Everybody to the middle with a great big yeah. You now then left that corner girl and partner right around left cran. Grand right in the left hand to get a girl to promenade back home. When you get back home, everybody say, whoa. Let's have those head couples promenade halfway, sides move in. Will sides move on out? Will side couples you promenade halfway and the heads wiggle in, and the heads wiggle on out. Now the head couples, you lead to the right, circle up 4. Now the head check break, and you make your line up. Go up to the middle and come on back and then 2 legs chain. Go straight across, stand ready to go. Courtesy turn, guys. 2 ladies chain right back home. We're gonna look for the corner. Left down, man the corner. We'll partner right and right left grand. Grand, go right and left hand. Get a girl to promenade back home. You promenade, and when I get done, everybody say, whoa. Let's have those side space. Grand square boogie, ooh, yeah. You're a good boogie over there. Well, when you get out there then, let's have those side couples. You move to the right, slug forward. And a side check break this time. And make your line. Go up to the middle and come on back. Do a right left through in front of you, right hand, courtesy turn to girl. 2 ladies flutter wheel, go straight across, pick them up, bring them on around, and then got lines, roar up to the middle and come on back. 2 ladies chain straight across, turn a honey and a promenade home. You promenade, take a little walk and get on home, and then when you get back home, everybody turn to face your partner and give her a great big swing. Yeah. We'll be around there and then flawless. 4 days chain, go 3/4. 1, 2, 3. Courtesy turn, guys. Good job. 4 days chain, straight across. Go. Courtesy turn, 4 days chain, 3/4. Go. If you did it right, you courtesy turn that partner. Back out, join hands, circle up and go. 4 in, make a right hand star. Turn 1 time, find your corner. Do an elemental left and corner, girl. Do sando your partner, back to back. 4 in with a left hand star. Now scoop up your partner with the arm around and star promenader. Back out, join hands, circle to the left, go round. Everybody do it now. There we go. It's circle left, go round and go. Do an elemental left and corner, girl. Weave the ring with enthusiasm. Yeah. Get it right there, you probably home. You probably don't want to get done. You're gonna say whoa. Good bow to the partner, turn around and bow to the corner. Walk a kiss right across from you, you did it good. The kind I like to be left down, land down. You do it side, do it then. Do an element left that corner. Weave the ring. We did it at it when you meet that girl coming in. You probably did that pretty baby on. Clap your hands, stomp your feet. It goes promenade. Halfway you go, science moving. Science move out around it goes. Science promenade, halfway it's wiggling. Wiggle on out, join hands, circle to the left. With pretty woman, I love you too. Left element, that corner girl. You promenade. Oh, pretty woman, won't you give your smile to me? In couples, leap to the right, circle up 4. Bring out a big line, go up to your middle and back. 2 legs chain, go straight across that ring. Then you chain the lady right on home. You take that girl, you promenade her home. You promenade her, go back home. Oh, pretty woman, won't you give your smile to me? Side face, ring square, go, pretty woman. Walking down the street, pretty woman. Look out to me, when you get back home then. Left hand man, corner girl. Weave the ring. Will you now good when you meet that girl coming? You probably did that pretty baby home. Clap your hands, stomp your feet, let's go. Here we go. Side couples, lean to the right, circle up 4. Bring that and make a line, go up to the middle and back. Wiggle 2 legs, chain, straight across around, then chain the lady right back home. Well, you take that girl, roll, promenade her home. You promenade her, go rolling on home. Oh, pretty woman, won't you give your smile to me? We'll dance. We'll out the side, couples lean to the right, circle up 4. Bring out and make a line, go up to the middle and back. 2 ladies, flutter wheel, go girls, pick up the opposite man, bring them back with you. Re-roll, flutter wheel again, go. Pick them up, bring them on back and then face your partner, swinger. You promenade her home. Oh, pretty woman, won't you give your smile to me? It's good. Join hands, circle out, pretty woman. Walking down, do it now, pretty woman. The power to me, do it now and right now. You do the side, do it then. Do it now and left that corner. We ring, hands up high. We lay down when you get that girl coming. You promised that pretty baby home. Pretty Look out on the land, the corner, do something, do your own. Look out the land, we rain. Swing the girl from the big hotel. Clap your hands, stomp your feet. But head ladies, flutter wheel, head ladies, flutter wheel, just the head ladies. Side ladies, flutter wheel, string from school, ruling there. All four ladies, flutter wheel. How I love you, look out the land, the corner from the big, I'll tell you. Clap your hands, stomp your feet, yeah. The side ladies, flutter wheel, side ladies, go. Head ladies, flutter wheel, go. Big them on there, all four ladies, flutter wheel, go. Bring them on back. Look out on that bird. You take the girl from the hill, I'll tell you. Clap your hands, stomp your feet, super loud. I love the girl named Ruby is her name. Do it now with enthusiasm. Yeah. Here we go. Head couples, do a right left, do turn girl. Sides, you do a right left, you turn the girl right there. Circle left. Yeah. Look out the land, the corner, girl. Go side to your partner. Look her in the eye. Promenade. The side couples promenade. Halfway around, heads moving. It's real life. The head couples promenade. Halfway, go rolling around. Back out, circle out. Oh yeah. Look out the land, the corner, promenade. Will you be mine? Side face, man square. I know a girl named Ruby is her name. Reverse, keep rolling around that big gold ring and then circle out. Ruby, how I love you. Look down the land, the corner, promenade. Will you be mine? Swinger guys, yeah. Will you be mine? Clap your hands, stomp your feet, oh yeah. Yeah. Okay. Side face, grand square, go! We'll keep rolling down the big old ring and then reverse. You guys are about the sloppiest group I've seen. What's going on here? Well, when you get right there, join hands, circle to the left. You circle left, go rolling there. Everybody to the middle with a great big yell. Everyone on the left, then corner, girl. We'll park your right and right or left ring. Grand around your left hand over hand, and get right there. When you get back home, everybody say, whoa. The tangles, head ladies, flutter wheel, go girls. square with a little bit more accuracy, okay? Side space. Grand square.
1, 2, 3, turn the face. 1, 2, 3, turn the face. 1, 2, 3, turn the face. 1, 2, reverse back. Back, 2, 3, turn the face. 1, 2, 3, turn the face. 1, 2, 3,
Way to left down, man in the corner. Weave the ring, hands up high. Get a girl and promenade back home. When you get back home, everybody say whoa. Examples, head couples, lead to the right, circle up 4. Now a hip check break, and make your line roar. To the middle, come on back. Two ladies, flutter wheel, go straight across, girls. Bring them on back. Couples, move into the middle, do a right and left through. Right hand, courtesy turn to girl, she comes out at you. Two ladies change straight across. You turn the wheel right there, back out, join up your hands, circle to the left. You circle left, right there. Everybody do it now. Do it out there, left hip over here. Hip partner, round and around, left grand. Grand to the right, to the left hip. Hand over, hand in the gear right there. Promenade. You promenade, I want to get you, everybody go, whoa. Hip couples. You promenade halfway, sides wiggle in. Inside, move on out. Side couples, move into the middle. Side couples, move into the middle. I didn't say promenade halfway. Side couples, move into the middle. Do a right and left through. Right hand, courtesy turn. You join hands, circle the left, go round and go back. Do an out and left and corner curve. Weave the ring, weave it down and go. Promenade your partner, you promenade back home. Everybody get back home, then everybody go, whoa. Side face, grand square, boogie, ooh, yeah. Rock the roll, go, down and go. Reverse, wave the little body goes suits around when you get back there. Everybody go out and let that corner girl. Do some, do your partner all the way around. Everybody to the middle with a great big yell. Ooh, what do you remember singing? Circle and go rolling round. Way to left down and that corner. Do some, do an out and left that corner. Weave the ring. Go baby, it's now your money. Take that girl and you all promenade. I love pink Cadillac. Crush velvet seats. Clap your hands. Stomp your feet. And ladies, you flutter wheel straight across. Pick them up, bring them on around, and then some ladies flutter wheel. Go. Pick them on up, and then all 4 ladies flutter wheel. We'll want to get on down, and then everybody turn to face your corner. Swinger. Swing that girl, promenade your corner. Round and go out of the pink Cadillac. Crush velvet seats. Roll it in the back of your pink Cadillac. Here we go. Hip couples. Lead to the right. Circle up 4. Break out and make a line. Go to the middle and back and then. 2 ladies chain. Go straight across. You chain that lady right back home. Then, when they get about there, turn to face your corner. Swinger. Promenade out of the pink Cadillac. Crush velvet seats. Rolling in the back. Square sets. Side face. Grand square. Go. I can't stop for you. Reverse. Square your sets. That would be important. With showing all your hands in your circle. Left down a bandit corner, all promenade. I love the pink Cadillac. Crush velvet seats. Rolled in the back of your pink Cadillac. Let's handle side couples. Promenade halfway. Hips move in. Hips move out. Head couples promenade halfway, sides move in. Sides are gonna move on out, circle to the left and go. Oh baby, it's not your money. We'll lift down at that corner. You are promenade out of the pink Cadillac. Brush the seat, rolling in the back of your pink Cadillac. Here we go. Side couples. You lean to the right, circle up 4. Break out and make a line. Go up to the middle and back and then 2 legs chain. Go straight across, you go. Chain them home. We want to get back home and then look at your corner. Swinger. And you all promenade out of the pink. That's your corner, buddy. Promenade or home. That would be good. We want to get back home. Side face. Grand square, go! Ooh, boogie! Reverse match. We'll join hands, circle to the left. We'll baby, it's not your money. Hey, look down at that corner. You won't promenade out of the pink Cadillac. Crushed velvet seats, rolling in the back of your pink Cadillac. Circle left, rolling in the back of your pink Cadillac. With a big yell. All right. Then awards. Okay, here we go. This is the 2 call. Do this Walker. Side face. Grand square, go. The song goes down to the Walkers. Reverse. The song goes down to the Walkers. Circle left. Move slide for the front, set the line to speed. Alabama corner, promenade for me. Look in the slide for the front, set the line to speed. Bring the baby down when you come for me. Head legs chain, turn that girl. Side legs chain, go straight across. All 4 legs chain, go rolling around. Back out, circle left, rolling around. You circle left, go rolling down. Alabama corner, promenade for me. No shoe marks in the back of the store. Lay money out on the floor. Here we go. Head legs chain, go straight across. Side legs chain, go straight across. All 4 legs chain, go straight across. Turn to girl, back out, circle left, don't get locked. You circle left, go around. With Alabama corner, promenade on down. They'll use square legs and Chinook Junior Highway. Have a great day time, circle left, let's all go down into the swamper. Do it now! Let's all go down the corner, girl. Weave that ring, roll back and here we go. You get your girl promenade, rolling around. Songbirds and their good time. Let down the land that corner. Swing your partner. Get ready, right now. Here we go. Hit couple center, start around. Right hand, go. All the way to your corner with the left. Come back in the middle, make the right hand turn to the corner. Do an Alabama let you go. Come back to the side of your partner one time around. You promenade the lady right on down. Release shoe bottles in the back of the store. Then how you do? Here we go. Sides start.
head couple come up, and you'll be getting 8 certificates and 8 suckers for your group. Let's have the head couples on this side come up. This group. Head couple.
Sprinter in high school, but he continued to play basketball while he was still in high school and didn't train year-round. When he got to college at USC, he went out for the football team to avoid practice in the fall for track and field, and continued to have a lot of hamstring pulls. And finally he decided late in his college career to do the work to move up to the 400 meters, and he's been just fantastic the last 2 years.
Quincy Watts may have tried to avoid practice early on, but he somehow ended up in the event that I feel could involve the most effort and pain of any event in track and field. It's a long way to sprint.
All right, the starter really holding the athletes in these 400s for a long time on their marks. And Couture of Kenya has really dropped off the pace as Leilu of Morocco has gone out very quickly. Quincy Watts is moving up through the field gradually in lane 3. Quincy Watts wearing the sunglasses, and now he has assumed the lead. The staggers just about used up as they hit the final straightaway. Quincy Watts the leader now. 4 will qualify. Leilu, Samson Couture now your leader, and Quincy Watts an eased up second. Leilu of Morocco will get 4th, and I believe it was Bopang Curry of South Africa who got 3rd.
Back in the men's high jump, Sorin Matei of Romania had great height over the bar on his attempt at 7.7. He misses. That's his 3rd miss. He is out of the Olympic Games. Not a big meet competitor, is he?
No, he really isn't. It's too bad because that was a fine jump, but he got too close to the bar, and all of his effort went up in the air, but he didn't have anything left to go into the pit. As you said, 1.5 or 2 inches on the bar, but he didn't have anything left to go into the pit, and he comes down on it. And this is a typical performance, unfortunately, for Sorin Matei in big meets.
All right, so Matei is out, and what they're showing us on our monitor right now is that Topish, well, he's up there getting ready, but they're showing he may have passed on that height. I don't know, on that final jump, or he may be out.
Well, they're certainly going past him, so he may have decided to go the next height.
Yeah, they certainly have. He may decide to take his final attempt at the next height. Take a little bit of a gamble here.
That's a big gamble because he just gets the 1 jump. Of course, in the high jump, there's 2 rules. Take off of 1 foot, and when you have 3 consecutive misses, you're out. You can take the jumps at any height as long as you keep going up. Once you pass a height, you cannot jump it again. If you have 2 misses at 1 height and pass to the next, you only get 1 jump left. So he is taking a big gamble, but he knows, as well as both you and I know, 5 3/4, 7.7 just isn't going to be in the mix. So he feels he can make the adjustment. He's going to go 1 more time. As we look at Becker, who is up for his 3rd attempt at 7.7, I think the crowd would really love it if he made this, and they wouldn't expect much more from him, but I do believe that they expect him to make this.
Gustavo, the crowd is behind him. He is looking. This could put him out of the competition. This is his 3rd attempt, 7.7.
Oh, it's too bad. He had his height. It was high enough, but it was in the wrong place. And I have to tell you, that's one of the things I think for you youngsters out there that are watching. A long run-up is really meaningless. In fact, the longer your run-up is, the more out-of-control speed you can get. And more importantly, the more your steps can be off. This is the shortest event in track and field, the high jump. World record's only 8 feet. And if you were off by 3 or 4 inches at the plant, as he was, and if he had been 3 inches closer to the plant, he would have cleared that with room to spare. So the longer your run-up is, the larger your chance for an error. So why have a 15 or 16 step run-up that's 90 feet long? You can generate plenty of speed in just 6 or 7 steps.
All right, let's quickly update you on the standings right now as far as misses go. We have Sjoberg from Sweden and Son right now from Germany, both tied for first place in the competition. Third place, they have to go to Sotomayor. Hollis Conway now with that one miss, and he didn't jump at the last height, is all the way back in 11th place, but I think one jump at that next height really could change things pretty quickly. I think we're coming up now to, and we have third place. Actually, Arthur Partyka of Poland is sitting tied for third also. So that's the standings at this point. The bar is still at 7-7. Next up is Marino Drake of Cuba, his last attempt at 7-7.
You know, we were saying earlier that he didn't look particularly mature. He's actually older than Sotomayor, but he does look like Soto did when he was a teenager, and they still call Soto Bambino because he's still so young, but he has so much experience. They like to jam him up and be sarcastic over his nickname. Drake is really thinking about this one. It's his last attempt at 7-7. He'd like to go on and jump at the next height, which would match his all-time personal best.
Oh, had great height.
And once again, these guys have got the good height in the wrong place, but when you jump like these guys do, like Sotomayor and Drake, they use a lot of strength in their jump, and if they have their step off at the plant, as we were talking about earlier, if their plant is in the wrong place, getting high up in the air is not really that great. See, he's got plenty of hip height, but he has no penetration speed. He isn't getting the speed, or he's absorbing too much of his speed to get into the pit. You've got to clear the bar and get into the pit, and he just didn't do it. His Olympic experience is over. Bar going to 7-8 next, and I think we're going to lose 3 or 4 guys here. 7-8 is going to really separate the men from the boys. The guys who jump 7-8 are going to be the guys who are going to contend for the medals.
Right now, we are getting ready now for the medal ceremonies for the men's hammer, and it was dominated by the unified team. Frank Zarnowski.
Bruce, for the 4th time since they've been at the Olympic Games, they won all 3 medals, and the gold medal was won by Abduliev, Andrei Abduliev of the unified team, 270 feet 9 inches on his 4th throw. The silver medal was going to be taken by Igor Ostapkovich at 268.11, and the silver Igor Nikolin at 267 even. All 3 medals by the unified team.
And by the way, all by the unified team, but all from different republics. So when the breakup happens, this is the last time we'll really see the unified team. It's going to be a different story.
Abduliev of Kazakhstan, Ostapkovich of Belarus, and Nikolin is from the Russian Republic.
Segundo y medalla de plata representando a Belarus.
Deuxième et médaille d'argent représentant la Biélorussie.
Second and silver medalist representing Belarus.
Segon i medalla de plata representant a Belarus, Igor Ostapkovich. Tercero y medalla de bronce representando a Rusia.
Troisième et médaille de bronze représentant la Russie.
Third and bronze medalist representing Russia.
Tercer i medalla de bronze representant a Rússia, Igor Nikolin. A continuación escucharemos el himno nacional del Tayikistán.
Nous allons maintenant entendre l'hymne national du Tadjikistan.
We shall now hear the national anthem of Tajikistan.
A continuació sentirem l'himne nacional del Tadjikistan.
Congratulations to our hammer throwers. A great job. It was a great competition. Very exciting to watch. But now back to the men's high jump final. We have Troy Kemp of the Bahamas up for his first attempt. 2 meters 34 7-8. And Dwight Stones, who came over to help us out during this high jump competition. We have 10 competitors left. Who do you think's in the driver's seat?
Well, I think right now that Sotomayor is in the driver's seat simply because he's jumping 10th of the 10 athletes left. 2 of the athletes jumping at this height are jumping with only 1 jump left. They had 2 misses at 7-7, passed their final attempts to 7-8, and that would be Dragutin Topic and Stephen Smith. Smith of Great Britain, Topic of the independent team from Yugoslavia, actually a Serb. And we'll see what happens if that gamble pays off. Troy Kemp, though, can be dangerous because he has jumped 7-8.5.
Ooh,
and another guy who's way up in the air and can't get into the pit. And I tell you, and I'm sure you'll remember this, you know when you're up in the air well. You know when you've just jumped a good jump. And when you leave your legs or your feet or a hand out to dry and drag the bar off with it, it is really frustrating.
This guy has some legs on him. Look at the height that he gets way in front of the bar. You know, that was pretty good. And then just coming down on it.
What's happening is, unlike the qualifying, these guys are running faster and they're getting more out of this surface than they did on Friday's qualifying. A lot of guys were short on Friday. Today they're long, so now they're having to step out. They're jumping down the bar, which is fouling up where their height is over the bar, and they're missing.
Is that because they plan it that way, or is it just an adrenaline factor?
It's definitely an adrenaline factor, no question. I don't think that this facility will have improved since Friday, so they are just a little bit more pumped up.
Timothy Forsyth of Australia, and you have to be impressed with this guy.
There's no question. I have seen him jump a couple of times. I had no idea he was this young until I started doing my research for the Olympics. 6'7", as I've said before, very light. He's in the 160s, much like Dietmar Mugenborg at the same age. But he's a very slow athlete right now, which is what shows me great room for improvement. It's like with Mike Powell. He can still get faster, and his technique can improve. That's what's exciting about how far can Mike Powell jump. What's exciting about this guy is that he can get stronger with age, and he can get faster with age, which means he may jump really high.
He may even start shaving pretty soon.
That's right. In fact, I started shaving at the 72 Olympics at 18 years of age.
His first attempt, 7-8.
Yeah, he got too close to the bar and hit it on the way up. I got to love this kid. He does take more time than anybody else in the competition, which really works for me.
Great young talent. Well, while we're watching the high jump and we see Forsyth coming in slow motion, hit it on the way up. We also know, for you people who are watching and keeping up to date on the women's heptathlon competition, the first flight of javelin throwers is over with. Dr. Frank Zarnowski has been down at the end of the table making sure he gets all the information, and he will keep you up to date in just a few minutes. Here we go right now with the javelin first group. This is what happened. Nathalie Tepp of France with the best throw at 52 meters 58, and we can get Dr. Frank Zarnowski in here to keep us up to date.
Bruce, the throw by Sabina Brown will give her a chance for a silver medal now, but she'll really have, or excuse me, a chance for a bronze medal, but she's really going to have to run against Liliana Nastasi, who blew the javelin. And as we'll wait for the next results to roll on your screen, you'll see that Sabine Brown threw 51 meters 12 and Liliana Nastasi just over 41 meters.
We are back at the men's high jump. It is first attempt time for all the competitors. This is Topish.
This is his third attempt.
Actually, this is his third attempt. Looking down at the monitor, he missed twice at 7.7. He took a gamble. He passed on his third miss, on his third attempt, trying to go to the next height. He thinks he can make it. He is taking a gamble. Let's see if it pays off for him. A seasoned competitor, Topish. Oh, didn't work, but he's out of the competition. He took a gamble, and in the Olympic Games, you got to take the gambles.
We are ready now for the first heat of the women's 400 meters. First heat of round 2, and this features Olga Brezgina, the Olympic champion from Seoul in 1988. She'll be running in lane 6, wearing 488 in the green colors of the unified team. She is from the Ukraine. Brezgina still holds the Olympic record, 48.65, and I don't think we'll see that threatened here.
Natasha Kaiser from the United States, University of Missouri. Really, I think, the promising talent on the U.S. 400-meter scene.
Natasha Kaiser with a great stretch run and a personal best of 50.42, finished third at the U.S. Olympic trials in New Orleans. What's been interesting to me is how long the starter holds them in the blocks when he calls them into the blocks and says, on your marks. Those are for a long time, and then set is only about 1.5 to 2 seconds, but I think he holds them in the blocks too long. This is 19-year-old Kathy Freeman of Australia.
She's the first Aborigine ever to run in the Olympic Games.
Amina Restrepo, who ran at the University of Nebraska, graduated in '91. And this is Natasha Kaiser, 25 years old, 5'8", 130. And this is the defending Olympic champion, Brezgina. Sandra Douglas of Great Britain, 25 years old. And then out in lane 8, Judith Forgach.
Marty, let's see if Sandra Douglas in lane 7 goes out the way the male British 400-meter runners did in their heat. Maybe that's just a tactic that their coaches have decided to use. Get out, make sure you've got a place, and then ease on in.
Okay, 4 heats of 32 runners, and the first 4 from each heat will go to the semifinals.
But once again, they're starting absolutely on time, so we probably have another minute or 2 before they even let them get into their blocks.
Well, Natasha Kaiser was the second place finisher in 1989 at the NCAA. In '90, she was 4th at the Athletics Congress Championship. And she's from Des Moines originally, went to the University of Missouri, graduated in '89, and still lives in Columbia, Missouri, and getting married to Brian Brown, one of the high jumpers from the U.S. Looking at Amina Restrepo, who also attended school in the United States, graduated from the University of Nebraska in '91, 6th in the World Championships at this distance in Tokyo last year, 2nd in the Pan Am Games, where she ran her personal best in Havana, 50.14. I've got to give a lot of credit to anybody who got a personal best in Havana. Okay, Kaiser in lane 5, Brezgina in 6. Brezgina gapping Natasha Kaiser. And you see Kaiser on the left there because Brezgina has opened up a gap. Sandra Douglas of Great Britain going with her. Natasha Kaiser has to have that late race finish that she had in the trials. She is in 5th or 4th right now as they straighten out for the final straightaway. Natasha Kaiser in 4th, Brezgina just coasting in front. And now Jimena Restrepo of Colombia, the leader in lane 3. Restrepo, Brezgina, Kaiser moving up. And then for 4th, it will not be Kathy Freeman in lane 2. It will be Sandra Douglas of Great Britain.
Just as the 400 heat was finishing, Patrick Sjöberg of Sweden, the leader in the competition at this point, had to jump to White Stones and just didn't quite have the height on that one.
I have to tell you, he waited for that heat of that 400 to go, and he didn't realize that they were going to run it on time and that he had plenty of time to jump. I think he's a seasoned, I know he's a seasoned competitor, but I think that the time that he was standing around was not good for him, and he's just dug a hole for himself. He now has to decide, should I make 7-8 and feel good about the fact that I'm over it, or do I pass my next 2 attempts to the next height, which is 7-9 1/4? And I think he'll make that decision reasonably soon because he'll have to jump reasonably soon as the field is starting to dwindle in size.
Artur Partyka of Poland will be our next competitor. He just has 1 miss at 2 meters 24, and he is made 2 meters 31, so this is his first attempt at 7-8.
He's currently tied for 3rd, but he would go a long way in helping himself out to make a first-time clearance at this height. As I mentioned before, world indoor silver medalist in Seville in 1991. He was beaten by American Hollis Conway, and Conway jumped the American record indoors in winning that competition, 7-10 1/2.
There has been 3 attempts at this height. Nobody has made this height at 7-8. And we have 4 athletes who have not made it over that height. Nobody has made this, so obviously, Dwight, making it on your first try is going to be very important. And in a couple, we have Hollis Conway coming up here in a couple of jumpers, and it's going to be very interesting to see if Hollis, who has a miss at an earlier height, can sort of make up a little bit of that ground and make this on his first attempt. It's going to be very important. First, we're going to have Steve Smith come up for his final attempt.
Right, he missed twice at 7-7. He has his final attempt coming up at 7-8 as we're still looking at Artur Partyka, who really could have made that height had he had his hips in the right place. Stephen Smith, he's young. He's actually, with the jumpers remaining, has the lowest personal best of all the jumpers remaining. His personal best is 7-7 of the 10 remaining jumpers. So he's jumping above his all-time personal best. He's going for the gamble, and the British do this often. Dalton Grant did it last year at Tokyo in the World Championships. His best ever 7-8 1/2. He started the competition at 7-7 with a successful clearance on his first attempt, the highest successful starting height in the history of the event. As we look at Javier Sotomayor, probably feeling a little bit better about that early miss that he had, but still, he knows that the jumping, the really earnest jumping, is still to come after the bar goes from 7-8 to 7-9 1/4. Let's see, Stephen Smith tries to get the crowd involved, or if his focus, yep, there he goes. He's not so focused that he can't get the crowd into it, and I think it's great that an athlete can do that. Willie Banks could do that well. Other athletes can. I couldn't do it. If they did it on their own, there's nothing I could do to stop it, but I certainly wouldn't have encouraged it. I really enjoyed as much silence as I could possibly get, but you have to be able to deal with all kinds of conditions with regards to other events going on, and he's psyched up here. That was a fine jump, and again, and I hate to belabor the subject, these guys are jumping in the wrong place. They're backing off, they're seeing something, or they're just so pumped that their adrenaline is pushing them too close to the bar. But Stephen Smith had a 7-8 and change jump here, and his height was in the wrong place. And it's so important. You know, the high jump and the pole vault are 2 events where no matter how high you jump, you only get credit for the bar that you clear, and you've got to be absolutely perfect on where you plant your feet. And it's cost several athletes, as we have seen already, successful jumps because of their foot placement being wrong. Now, this is a big moment for Hollis Conway. No one over the bar at 7-8. He does have 1 miss in the competition. He had a miss at 7-5 3/4, chose to pass 7-7. It is critical for Hollis, who stands 11th currently, that he make this height on his first attempt. He is probably the 2nd best jumper jumping in the order. There's lots of good people jumping after him. I tell you, he is struggling, and it's a
not
shame.
even close. Not even close.
He's slowing down into the bar, which a guy that's 6 feet tall cannot do. And he's so good at converting his horizontal speed, his run-up speed, to vertical lift, which is what this event is all about, that he has nothing left to go into the pit with. You know, and I have to tell you, a lot of things have happened in his life lately. He jumped 7, 8.5 to win our Olympic trials, but 10 days ago, he became a father. His little daughter, Tarvia Victoria, he was happy to have gotten that particular situation over and done with before he came to the Olympics, but I have to tell you, the stress of all that could have really weighed on him. As we look at Ralph Sohn from Germany, this is not his best arena. He's a great indoor jumper. He has jumped 7.10 indoors several years. He has had the best mark of the year.
But he's currently leading the competition. He's tied with Schoberg right now. And he is getting ready to go, but he's distracted. We have, boy, I love how this Spanish crowd is Americanized. We have the wave going. So I think Ralph Sohn decided, I'm just going to sit this one out, turn upside down, and watch the wave for a minute and wait for the 400-meter heat to go. Marty?
I am surprised that Dwight Stones can still speak. I would think that the disrespect of the wave shown to the high jump final here has got to be driving you crazy. Unfortunately, they do not know what's going on, and Ralph Sohn, as they start the 400 meters, has taken a break. In this heat, Olga Nazarova coming out of lane 6. Gerald Miles of the United States, unfortunately, will have tight lane 1. 4 will qualify. Nazarova was 3rd in the Olympic 400 meter in Seoul and won the trials for the unified team, and she is a Russian. Right now, out very quickly is Jillian Richardson Briscoe, running for Canada in the red uniform.
Miles is not out of it yet, but she's going to have to really get going. You can see her on the right-hand side of the screen as they come off this turn. She's not running much distance, so she'll be up there. Good run for her. She didn't panic. It's disconcerting to be back there and see 7 people way down the track ahead of you, but she held her composure and she qualifies easily.
All right, the 4 qualifiers will be Jillian Richardson Briscoe, Gerald Miles, Olga Nazarova,
the bar is at 7.8. The jumper is Ralph Sohn of Germany. He is currently ranked number 1. You can see that on the graphics on the bottom of your screen. He does not have a miss at any height, although he's taken a lot of jumps. Here he is, 7.8.
You know, it was a real watershed height for Ralph Sohn. He has jumped 7.10 indoors, but he's never jumped higher than 7.25 outdoors. He really performs well off of those trampoline sprung type boards that they have in many of the indoor halls in Europe. And this was an important
up there with the rest of the guys here.